right. Hello, folks. Hope everybody is doing well. As usual, I will attempt to keep up with the chat. However, I make no guarantees. The one thing that will guarantee that I am able to get to your question or respond to your comment is to do it as a super chat. I might get to it otherwise. I just can't promise it. And hold on. Almost had it. There we go. And don't try that at home, kids. And let's see, what else was I going to say? Oh, doing a super chat also gets you the little gay heart of appreciation, because I appreciate you immensely. Hey, everybody, hope you're doing well. We do have a couple questions right off the bat, or at least one. Wanted to ask, which director do you think would best suit Doctor Who vibe-wise? David Cronenberg, Jordan Peele, James Wan, or Ari Aster? I don't know if you've been to one of my live streams before, but I'm going to go ahead and do the thing that I usually do when asked those kinds of hypothetical questions. Completely deconstruct the question and not actually give you a straightforward answer. Sorry, it's how my brain works. Because my gut instinct answer to that is almost any director could work for Doctor Who. It depends on pairing them with the right script, because you say what best suits Doctor Who's vibe, and my question is, what's Doctor Who's vibe? One of the things that I at least really love about Doctor Who is it can have a completely different vibe episode to episode. Regardless of what you think of the quality of any given episode, just to pick some examples from the most recent era, The Devil's Cord has a completely different fundamental feel to, say, The Well. So I think if you pair the right script, almost any director could work. As far as trying to answer that more straightforwardly, I suppose I'd be most interested in Jordan Peele. I haven't seen Ari Aster's movies, so I have no opinion on any of those. But anyway, I tried. I deconstructed the question. That's a very common thing. Any of the regulars could tell you. Welcome from Heatwave UK, 34 Celsius. What is 34 Celsius? I could never figure out a way to shorthand a conversion on that. 34 Celsius. 93. Oh, dang. Yeah, no, I mean, we had a warm one where I'm at. It was like 81, 82, which, like, if we were in August would be a bit more common. For late May, that's a little hot, but yeah. And that was Fahrenheit that I just gave. So I guess, geez, if I were to figure out what that would be, Celsius. So like 27, 28 Celsius was about what I had here. But yeah, no, that not pleasant. Hope you're doing okay. I know I've heard it said, but it's the kind of thing that I've heard said by like stand-up comics, so I don't know if it's an exaggeration, but I've heard it said that there really isn't much in the way of air conditioning in the UK, or at least in London in specific, that it's just not a thing most people have. So if that's the case, all my sympathy. Yesterday I strained my leg on an exercise bike, and now the internet on my desktop won't work because of the heat. Oh, yeesh. That's a bad combo. Hope you your leg feels better, 255. Coming off a nasty head cold that took me out for the past 4 days. Good grief. Has anybody had an okay last 4 to 5 days? Anybody? Anybody in the room? Is anybody okay? The rest of you blink twice if you need me to send help. My gosh. I feel it's optimistic of you to assume people will read a pinned comment. No, it's just I don't think the pinned comment's going to stop something necessarily from happening, but at least I can say that if I ban somebody or at least shut down from answering a question, if they try and get snippy at me, I can point to that and go, I told you. So, like, it's not that I expect it to stop the problem. It's that it is offering people the chance to not be made to feel foolish because they ask about something that I'm not going to talk about. If they bypass that chance, that's not my fault. I tried. Vera, did you see that there's an article that Doctor Who Christmas special could be canceled, not confirmed though? No, because I never read those kinds of articles. Like I'm seeing right now, it's rumored they still have an actor to be 17. Who Culture did a video on it. I don't do videos on those things, and I don't even read those kinds of articles. I don't like talking about unconfirmed stuff for a variety of reasons. The big one being, if I dedicate a lot of my brain space to it, I feel like it is completely wasted if it turns out not to be true, which is the case 95% of the time. This is why I don't do rumor mill. Watched a few sad movies, but I'm fine. Oh, I mean, speaking of sad stuff, I've finally started watching BoJack Horseman. The timing on that was interesting. Just in terms of recent history and starting to watch that and hitting an episode like BoJack Hates the Troops. Timing was odd. It felt like the universe was trying to give me a heads up on something. Anyways, I've never seen air conditioning in the UK. Dang. Okay. I mean, if you remove the oven level heat here in the UK, last few days have been fine. Ooh. Sheesh. It's the Daily Mail. I would literally never look at a Daily Mail article other than to try and find the source of something else. Like, if I ever look at a Daily Mail article, it's because it's all I've been able to find because Google sucks now. And, like, I'm trying to find out what source they had so I can go to that instead. Ugh, Daily Mail. Jeez. Huh. Quick, what's the best Resident Evil game? Whatever one is your favorite. I haven't played any of them. I mean, that's not technically true. I played, like, an hour and a bit of the fourth one. But by the time I got around to it, my motion sickness with video games was starting to increasingly become a problem. So the only places in the UK you'll get air conditioning are supermarkets. That does actually make sense. Like, it would be nice if air conditioning could be something that could start to be implemented for people's homes. But if you're gonna prioritize something, the place where the food is, that actually does make sense to tackle that first. Are you trying to say he should have taken muffins from Neil McBeal, the Navy SEAL? Monster! Look, I'm not saying that BoJack was right to steal from Neil McBeal, the Navy SEAL. I'm just saying that I felt for some of the circumstances. That's all I'm saying. It's a good show so far. I'm enjoying it. There's also a report from The Sun saying that the Christmas special has been moved back to Easter. Oh, yes. The two pillars of reliable reporting, the Daily Mail and The Sun. Yeah. Yeah, Google really does suck. Now, I need to try out DuckDuckGo. I asked for Google alternatives over on Blue Sky. That was the main one that got suggested to me. I gotta start using that, see how I feel about it. We also don't have wooden houses in the UK. What are your houses made of? Well, okay, look, I'll back up. I understand that if you live in a city, like, it's gonna be, concrete and stone and whatever else. But, like, what do you mean you don't have wooden houses? What do you mean? What does that mean? Most of the underground system has no air conditioning and is well known for being on the hot side on a normal day. I think I lucked out because I forget exactly what time of year, but I feel like it was fall the one time I went to the UK and went to London. So it wasn't too bad. I do not remember what month I went, but like all my memories, like the energy and the vibe is fall. But I can't remember what month I went. BoJack strains my ability to have empathy for a main character. I mean, that's part of the point, at least as far as I've gotten. DuckDuckGo is good, better than Google for sure. Oh, okay, well, did you read Murderbot? I read the first 2 books. I actually have reviews up for the first 2 entries in the Murderbot Diaries over on my secondary channel, Break Room of Geeks, so you can find those. I liked them quite a bit. Unfortunately, I am still at a point where it's hard for me to commit a notable amount of time to anything I haven't been commissioned to watch. I mean, like, at the moment, I have picked BoJack Horseman as the thing where I need to take a half hour away from editing because I need to get out of work brain mode for a bit, and like that's the thing I've picked. But our houses are made of red brick. We have some of that in New England more. I don't think brick houses are that common outside of New England. There are some around here. Like I could walk around my town, probably see about 3 or 4 brick houses. Vera, we both know that every one thing eventually becomes suckage if the almighty dollar is involved. That is depressingly accurate. Actually, you know what? Let me... If you don't mind, Knit, I'm going to assign you a moderator role just because most of the folks who were my old mods aren't around as regularly. And like, that doesn't obligate you to be here every time. I'm trying to pick out a couple of people to grant mod privileges to. If you want me to take them away from you, I can, but I have not granted them to you. You mean you do have wooden houses? I mean, depends on the house. A lot of newer houses are technically a lot of fiberglass, but like I live in Vermont. I live in New England. Most older houses are wood. Yeah. That's what they are. House I live in is wood. Coyote Azul, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it immensely. You're a lovely individual. Any show from when you were real young that influenced you a lot? Mine would be The Electric Company. So trying to think about something that influenced me as opposed to just a thing that I liked. Probably Sesame Street. Honestly, I think Jim Henson's The Storyteller had a pretty big impact on me. And I guess on the tail end, sort of the more tween end of things, as opposed to actually a kid, stuff like the Batman animated series and sort of, I've seen stuff really strike that balance of being able to tackle more mature topics but still be accessible. I feel like stuff like that was a pretty big influence on me overall. Thoughts on the Pope's announcement to reschedule Christmas till later in 2027? No thoughts on that. Thumbs up for me for the Pope for slagging off AI. I'm all for that. Yesterday, my parents were babysitting my nieces overnight, which was annoying because it meant I had to wear clothes. Okay. Let's see. I live in a town with 12,000 people and I only know one wood house. I live in a town with 7,000 people and most of the houses are wood. I don't know what to tell you. Did you buy the Doctor Who TV movie that's just had its ultra high def release, or at least order it? They've scanned the film negs. No, I can't remember if I already have a copy on DVD. That's gonna bug me. I'll be right back. All right, I am now back. No, I don't have a copy of that, so I might look into that. I don't know if I need the ultra high def. Like, I don't care that much. Like, most stuff I get now on Blu-ray because, I can, but like, fundamentally, I just want to have the thing, I miss Jim Henson. Oh, I feel you on that. I've spent most of the day editing Saturday's video, and that involved pulling a lot of clips from a Jim Henson project that I love dearly. And that, yeah. He was good. The very old church I was married in Middlesex, Vermont was made of wood and sadly burned down a few years ago. It went up so fast. I mean, that is the downside of wood, uh, unfortunately. But yeah, yeah, even the churches around here, like there's a couple of stone churches because the Catholic Church is stone, and there's what is it? Is it the Presbyterian? There's a stretch of a street in town that like just has a ton of churches on it, and I forget which one's which. Have you seen or read Watership Down? What did you think of it? If so, I have seen the movie. I never read the book, and I think I don't know. Like it's one of those things that like I didn't see it as a kid, so it didn't have any drastic or dramatic or traumatic impact on me whatsoever. So I watched it as an adult, and I'm like, yep, no, that's about what I've heard about it. And I don't know. I kind of feel bad for not having more thoughts on it. It's just one of those things that's kind of on the list of like, I feel like I should see that movie. I have seen that movie. And the thought kind of stops there, which again, I feel slightly bad about, but yeah. There's a stone church in my town from 1758. Oh, nice. I don't think there's anything in town that old. I know there's some stuff in my town from the 1700s. But like it doesn't compare. Old building in America is anything over 100 years. Old building in Europe and the UK is like 500 years old. Like it doesn't compare. Made of wood, so they're witches. Well, look, I'm not speaking for anybody else. I mean, my house is made of wood. Assume what you will about whether or not I'm a witch. But there you go. Spam risk. How about you? Piss off. Watership Down's my favorite movie of all time. I'm not sure what that says about me. I think it says you're in pretty good company. I've heard that from a few folks. I saw Watership Down as a kid because it's rated G. That movie should not be rated G. I mean, it's worth remembering, Cloak, that when it came out, PG-13 didn't exist. And the notion of what G and PG even were was very different. That having been said, I probably agree it should have been PG, but I'm not sure that the seal had been broken on like a PG rated mass release animated movie. Like, there would have been some animated stuff that wasn't G, but it would have been stuff like Fritz the Cat, which was actually rated X. So, there was underground animation that was going for like R. I'm not sure, at least, I'm not sure if there'd been a PG animated movie by that point. I mean, there might have been, but just that doesn't mean that it was widespread or widely practiced. There's a pub just outside of my town from the 1160s. I think you've told me that before. My house in Massachusetts is 101 and is wood. My house is, I think it's about 200 years old. I think. I'm trying to remember what the date for the house is. I can't remember. But if it's not 200, it's close. Have you ever heard of a movie called Fritz the Cat? Well, yeah, Ms. Wicked Wolf, I just mentioned it. I'm assuming that you wrote that before I said it out loud because I'm just kind of looking at the chat as it goes. Fantastic Planet was definitely not for kids. I mean, yeah, but Fantastic Planet is not. I don't know. Unless I'm forgetting some specific parts of it, Fantastic Planet, it's not aimed at kids, sure, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's not like heavy metal levels of what are we doing? Fun fact: Temple of Doom created the PG-13 rating. Yep, I'm aware of that one. And like honestly, we needed the PG-13 rating because there needed to be something in between PG and R. That having been said, it has resulted. Well, actually, let's back up. The original set of 4 ratings would have been fine, but there is every time there's been a new rating introduced, there has been cultural drift. So, like, originally, I think it was some stuff that they stopped using almost immediately. But, like, what basically initially settled the initial 4, even though I'm pretty sure truly original pitch was something else. But once it settled into the first 4, it was G, P, G, R, and X, with X being nobody under 18 admitted. Now, that wasn't, strictly speaking, intended to be for, what can I say that won't get this stream demonetized? Filming exclusively catering to adult prurient interests. It wasn't, the X rating wasn't created for that, but that was what anything that was that ended up getting rated, if it was rated at all. Because keep in mind, back then, there were still theaters that showed exclusively that stuff, so it did need a rating. So the X rating became untenable for anything that wasn't that. Then all of a sudden we had 3 ratings, which is not enough. So they bring in PG-13, and you think it's going to be fine, but now the drift has gone the other way, and almost nothing gets rated G anymore. Unless it's literally made for babies, nothing gets rated G anymore. I say it's not literally nothing, but like stuff that's rated G is like a handful of animated films in a year. But even at this point, most animated films are getting PGs. It's weird, the drift that happens. My house could beat up your house. I don't know. I'll pit my ghost against yours. When I like a show, I watch it at 1.15 speed. When I don't give a crap but need to watch it for some reason, I go to 1.5. Battlestar Galactica is currently at 1.25. Boy. Battlestar Galactica, what a shoe. The Last Unicorn and Plague Dog. Sometimes I debate whether or not the latter was meant to be made for kids. I've been meaning to see Plague Dogs. I still haven't seen that one. Last Unicorns. That's a great movie, but the book is amazing. The book's one of my all-time favorite books. The movie's really good, but the book is so much better. Yeah, ideas of ratings change. Remember, George Carlin did that bet about 7 words you can't say on TV. It's now 3 words. Out of his original list, well, hold on. I'm not going to be able to say it out loud, so let me think through the list. Okay, so we need to take, obviously, premium cable completely off the table. I would also think even basic cable we need to take off the table, because at the time he did that, it was really just the networks. Like, technically, some amount of cable was starting to exist because, like, HBO was a thing. But, like, he was talking about network. So if we stick to network standards and what still can't be said off his original 7 words, still can't say it. You can probably say that one. You can't 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 say that one. You can probably get away with that one. So, like, I guess it's down to 4 now for network TV out of his original 7. Well, don't forget, he also had his 3 extra ones, 2 of which are also now completely fine. I understand the ratings can be bypassed with an adult with a child in the US, whereas in the UK it's by law with or without an adult. It depends on the rating. So, like, we replace the X with the NC-17, and you cannot take a minor to an NC-17 movie. You just can't. You can take a minor into an R-rated movie with parental guidance. But if it's NC-17, and also different theaters will use their own discretion. They might make their own call on that. But broadly speaking, an R-rated movie you can take a child into with an adult, but an NC-17, which is a rating that almost never gets used because it's box office poison, so it might as well not exist, but it still technically does. And if something is released as NC-17, you cannot take a minor into it. So, like, we do have a rating that is true for that. It just doesn't really get used. Hey. I'm a children's librarian. I had a patron the other day who asked me to help find her some G-rated movies the fifth graders would like. That was a challenge. Ooh. Oh yeah. Because fifth grade's gonna be the age where they're like, that's for babies. And yeah. Dang. Yeah. You have my sympathy on that one. I think part of the drift is kids often want to feel older than they are. So if it's PG or PG-13, they feel cooler. That's just based off my vibes, not actual research. I mean, I would say in some cases, sure. I'm not sure that, at least I'm not sure that alone is responsible for the cultural drift. It's like, it's in the air as an energy. Sure. I was in a castle on a rock in the sea last Tuesday, so I was thinking about The Last Unicorn. Lots of parts of Cornwall make me think about that film. That is a good movie. I'm glad it's still remembered. Boy, it would make me happy if more people could also remember that Rankin Bass made a really good Hobbit adaptation too, because it's very much in the similar vein. Supreme Omega! Thank you for the super chat, my friend. That is very generous of you. You're a lovely human being. Cybermen! They seem to be less flexible to write than Daleks. Because after the Second Doctor era, there are stretches in franchise history where they are absent. I think the main difference is that the Cybermen kind of were originally designed for, and then in subsequent uses, it kind of got refined in order to tell specific stories. Like the Daleks, while they are intended to be a pretty specific type of villain, it is a type of villain you can plug into a lot of different stories. The Cybermen weren't really designed to be just a generic story. They were a generic villain. They were designed to tell a specific kind of story, and if you remove them too fully from that context, then they don't even feel like Cybermen anymore. So I think you're right that that they're less flexible, but I think that's a natural offshoot for how they were designed and how they've been used. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It is an accurate thing, though. You are correct. Was The Last Unicorn a book? I think I have a vague memory of it. It is a book. It's an amazing book. It's one of my favorite books. I adore that book. I was very fortunate. I got to meet the author, Peter S. Beagle. There was, God, this was a while back. He's still alive. But there was a screening of The Last Unicorn in Vermont, and I went to it and I brought some stuff for him to sign, and he talked a little bit before the movie. He was what I wanted him to be. Speaking as someone who deeply loves that book. Yeah. he was what I'd hoped. Rankin Bass did my favorite Hobbit. The movie by Peter Jackson seems filled with lots of extra stuff. Like, one of these days, I'll do a full video explaining why I love that version of The Hobbit. And it's not above reproach, but I love it. And not only do I feel that it fits the energy of the book a heck of a lot better than that bloated mess that was put out as a trilogy. But beyond that, I also think that I can compare pretty directly a lot of the decisions made from one to the other and go, the animated one's better. Like, my big one is Smaug. I love the animated Smaug so much more than the live action one. Yeah, he's so much better. And like, I could go into why, but I'll make a video on all this eventually. I say that. I've been saying that for years. I've been thinking about it for years. I will do it at some point. Remember when Sidney Newman okayed Lambert to make Doctor Who, his number one rule was no robots? He had his reason. The Last Unicorn is also an animated movie from the early 80s. Yep. Early 80s energy. And a lot of the individual animators who worked on it went on to go to Studio Ghibli when that opened up, because Rankin Bass outsourced its animation. If If you switch to DuckDuckGo, do make sure to disable all the AI features in the setting. Oh, yeah. That would be the first thing that I do. I need to pop on over to the Discord and see what's up over there. So I will be back shortly. All right, I'm going to get through these questions as quickly as I can. Let us see. In your opinion, can you explain why Doctor Who's 60th anniversary special doesn't feel desperate despite bringing back David Tennant, while Avengers Doomsday reeks in desperation? Okay, so I'm assuming you're comparing that to the bringing back of people like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. First, they're bringing back multiple people instead of just one. But actually, more importantly, I did think bringing back Tennant was kind of a desperate move. I did think that until I saw it. And then I went, oh, they actually did something with this. And something that I think benefits from bringing back an older Doctor. But like, to be fair, having not yet seen Avengers Doomsday, it is not impossible that I will get turned around on it, similarly to how I turned around on the holiday specials. I would be very surprised, but it is technically possible. What are your thoughts on the season 3 trailer for Hell of a Boss? It was just the date announcement and a teaser. I'm not the kind of person who would have thoughts on something that short. Like, I know there are creators out there who will comb through frame by frame and come up with what they think this means that will happen to this character. Maybe they'll do this plotline. I'm not the kind of person. It's not long enough for me to have thoughts on. It's a trailer. It exists. Why do you think modern kids' films need to dumb down their films, like, for example, the Animal Farm movie? That's not a new problem. I would actually argue that is a long-standing problem, and it started to become really noticeable in the 80s when, now granted I'm about to talk about television as opposed to film, but the energy of one influenced the other. But when the regulations around children's television were disbanded by Reagan in the 80s, stuff didn't have to be educational anymore, and suddenly it was okay just to have something that amounted to a half-hour toy commercial. And the idea of just put out something that will be flashing lights and maybe make kids ask for a toy started to become really prolific in the 80s. And I feel like that's a better route to a cultural understanding of how we end up, if you're looking at long-term picture, how we end up with stuff like the Animal Farm movie, than thinking that it's something about modern kids' films, because it's not a new problem. What is your name? Vera Wild. What is your quest? To have a nice, relaxing evening. What is the capital of Assyria? At what point in time? Because it's changed repeatedly. What is your favorite Star Wars story? I know you ranked the movies years back. I've talked about Andor being the best series, but curious if there's one outside of the movie/shows that has a top spot, or if Andor is that for you. Andor is the best of the series stuff, full stop. For stuff that I actually like and would happily revisit, it's Andor, it's the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, because I never saw the CG animated ones, the Dave Filoni ones. I think that might be it. I think that might actually be it for the series. I don't know if I would put Andor above A New Hope, which is my favorite of the movies. Like, they're doing such different things that comparing them at all feels weird. Where is Gamora? Currently? That's actually a good question. I can't remember where they left her character at the end of third Guardians movie. Who is Gamora? Well, currently a time-displaced clone of someone we previously knew. Why is Gamora? Because for some goddamn reason, our jackass jock boy hero needs a love interest. That's why is Gamora. Or at least that's why that's why we got the Gamora we got. That's why is Gamora. Is it true that you've never seen the original Charmed? that is technically not true. I feel like flipping through channels once, I watched like half an episode, so that is technically not true, but I don't think I've ever seen a complete episode of the original Charmed or of any later stuff of Charmed. I know Charmed is a thing that exists currently. I don't know. I know it's a thing. Yeah, but yes, spiritually it is true. Technically it is not. What 90s show would you bring back if you could? Now, see, the thing about that question is my general feeling on revivals is not super positive for the most part. And that's true of both movie franchises and TV shows. Like, for every Mad Max Fury Road, you know, in terms of an amazing, long overdue follow-up, we get a bajillion things that it's just like, oh yeah, okay, did that need to exist? But if you're gonna pin me to the wall and make me pick one, I would say Gargoyles. I'd be for bringing back Gargoyles in 2D animated form. I don't want it live action. I don't want it CGI. Clean it up for smoother 2D animation and give me more Gargoyles. Ignore season 3. There you go. That's what I would bring back. It's too hot to think of a third question. Have some water. Don't mind if I do. All right. Spent a little longer on these questions than I thought. There were more than I thought there were. I'll try and pick up the pace. I know you won't ever like it, but do you think you'll feel less negatively towards Battlestar Galactica when you aren't in the process of being forced to sit through it? Like, to what extent, if any, do you think your growing disdain for the show is not exactly the fact that it's bad, but the fact that you're being made to keep watching it in spite of that? I don't know if I can properly assess that, because if I wasn't being made to watch it, I would have stopped watching it altogether. And then I suppose technically my opinion would be better, because I'd have to give some amount of grace and like put an asterisk on my I don't like that show opinion by saying, yeah, and I didn't finish it, which is what I have to say about things like Orphan Black. So like me being forced to watch it is removing the asterisk on my opinion. But like, if I wasn't being forced to watch it, I would have just stopped. So I'm not sure that's actually an improved opinion. It's just an opinion in a mild state of limbo, because technically it would have been possible for my opinion to turn around. So obviously in practice that is not happening. Is it inherently homophobic to signal a male character is meant to be seen as pathetic by having them say something like, feel free to censor this, I'll suck your while begging for their life? In a vacuum, a little. Like, context always matters. Context is always everything. That's a case where I would say the default leaning to that scenario is, yeah, that's kind of homophobic. But like, depending on context for the character, the tone of the thing overall, and you know, a bunch of other stuff, I might not be comfortable labeling it that, but you know, context is everything, always, always, always. After finishing The Boys, I've come to the conclusion that I think all shows that have a message about capitalism being the bad guy will inevitably have a disappointing ending, because the companies that finance TV shows won't let them end the show with overthrowing capitalism. You think I'm right or wrong about that? It's hard to know. Like, it is very difficult. Well, actually, in most cases, it's impossible to know whether a critique of capitalism comes up short because the powers that be gave notes, or because the creator themselves can't actually imagine a world that isn't capitalist. Because that is very rampant. Like, just conceptually, even people who think of it as bad have a hard time properly imagining a world without it. So like, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, you'll never know which is which 99% of the time. Do you think The War Between the Land and the Sea will ever air on Disney Plus? I mean, I assume that it probably must. I would think they must be contractually obligated to release the damn thing at some point. I expect they're going to drop it with zero fanfare and zero promotion. If they don't drop it at all, like, that has to be a violation of a contract somewhere. I don't know. Like, I would think so, but at this point, I have no idea. After the Church on Ruby Road aired, you posted a video called I Lost Excitement for RTD Running Doctor Who. Do you think you were let down by the era for the same reasons you mentioned you thought you would be in the video, or did you think the era had different problems than you anticipated, or are both true? Both are true, and an additional thing is true. RTD did pull out some amazing single episodes. I mean, I'll keep pointing to 73 Yards for the rest of my damn life as being absolutely astounding, and I will go to bat for Dot and Bubble quite readily. So, like, he pulled some amazing stuff out of that whole process. But, yeah, my frustration with him continuing to try and format it the way he did in 2005, despite the fact that he has 5 fewer episodes in which to do it, and he's still trying to pull the same bag of tricks. Yeah, that I thought that was going to be my problem, and that was one of my problems. I ended up also having other problems that I didn't anticipate, separate from that, but a lot of that had to do with just how rapidly the second season wrapped up. But I've talked before about there's only so much I'm prepared to blame RTD personally for that, even though he does bear some responsibility. Considering that some episodes during RTD1 era, such as Aliens of London / World War III, Love and Monsters, and Partners in Crime, were criticized at the time for being too childish when they aired, but fans have since started looking back on them much more fondly. Do you think the same thing would have happened to Space Babies if it had aired during RTD1 era, or is there something fundamentally different about Space Babies that makes it more deserving of the criticism it received than the other examples? Nope, there is nothing different about Space Babies. I have said this since that thing first aired. It is an incredibly typical first episode to a season of RTD Doctor Who. It is. It just is. It pulls the exact same kind of stuff that plenty of his other, plenty of episodes that he wrote in general, but also plenty of his openings. It's an incredibly typical opening from him. I think people just thought and or hoped that he would have evolved more rather than slipping back into his old ways. And because of what you already mentioned, that I had kind of accepted, he's just going to play from his old playbook. I was already expecting it. So while I didn't really like Space Babies, I wasn't mad at it because I was basically going, yep, that's about what I would expect. I actually feel a lot about that era. The first season especially, like, people got real mad about Empire of Death. And there's plenty wrong with Empire of Death, but I would argue there was not a single thing wrong with Empire of Death that is not also wrong with other RTD penned finales during his first run. And you could argue that Empire of Death has those problems more so, and I'd probably even agree, but I don't think Empire of Death had any new problems. I think every problem it has is something that RTD has done before. Questions, a few casual ones from me today. What do you think about the way people class themselves as a dog person or a cat person? I don't think much about it at all, actually. I don't think I've ever put any thought into that one way or the other. I always just took it as a straight up statement of a preference for what they would personally prefer to have in their life. On the topic, would you rather play with a litter of kittens or puppies today? Or if that would be too overwhelming today, I guess in general also works. I can't pick. No, I can't choose. Those are both be incredible. I mean, okay. I suppose if you forced me to choose, I'd go puppies, if only because I feel like I'd be slightly less likely to get severely clawed. What else we have? What do you think of Zubul from the Amazing Digital Circus as gender fluid / non-binary representation? I think allegorically, Zubul works for that, for sure. Like some of the stuff about not feeling comfortable in their own body, like that's a thing, absolutely. I don't know how much of it is intentional. It's one of those characters, like, you can read it that way for sure. Was it intended to be read that way? Maybe. Does it hold up 100% as a reading for that? I don't know. Probably not. Almost nothing does. But yeah, that's fine. What's your favorite movie that you've seen so far in 2026 and why? Project Hail Mary, because it's just good. Actually, back up. That's my favorite movie that I've seen from 2026. If we want to go by favorite movie that I've seen in 2026. Like I saw it this year, but it might technically be older. And you may or may not have meant it this way, but my brain's gone this way, so I'm gonna do a quick check on what I've seen. Let's see. When did I see? I think, yeah, no, saw that last year. So, best thing I've seen this year, regardless of what year it came out, was either Weapons or The Menu. I'm not sure which, but it'd be one of those two. Which upcoming 2026 movie are you looking forward to the most and why? I don't know. I'm not actually super looking forward to much this year. I'm probably closest to excited for Supergirl. But I don't know, man. I barely remember what even is coming out this year. All right, I am back at the main chat. Oh, we got a super chat. Oh, we got a couple. Oh, dang. Okay. Ooh, we have several. All right, I got to catch up on these now. Andrew Kawam. Andrew, thank you very much for the super chat. Curious to know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Alex Garland doing the Elden Ring movie? The thing is, I haven't seen his last few movies. I like Ex Machina. I love Annihilation. I haven't seen Men. I haven't seen Civil War, and I never saw Devs. So I don't know necessarily what it is he would bring as a director to an Elden Ring movie. So wait and see, I guess, is my lukewarm non-take. It's yeah. I here's what I'll say. I don't know how good a fit he is for this property because I also haven't played the game. But I think that it's a good thing that he's getting a swing at a big budget project. I think that's a good thing generally. Did you play PS1, and if so, any favorite games? Oh, of course I played PS1. It wasn't until the PS3 era that I started dropping off and only played like a handful of things. PS1. Trying to think now. I feel like I'm going to have to end up listing multiple things because I don't think I have a particular favorite, but Metal Gear Solid was great. Final Fantasy VII was great. I have my issues with it, but it is a very good game. What was it? Vagrant Story? That one was real good. I think those are kind of the big ones. Yeah. I think those are the big ones. At least those are the ones that are leaping to mind. Oh, Parasite Eve. Loved Parasite Eve. That game was great. Had garbage sequels that had almost nothing to do with it, but it was a real good game. Jennifer De Benedetto, thank you very much for the super chat. That is very generous of you, and I appreciate you immensely. I hope the next few days are better than the last few days, and please do the Hobbit video when you have the chance. I mean, when I have the chance is the big question mark. But yeah, that one's been on my list of get around to this one of these days topics for a while. I meant, do you think you feel better about Battlestar Galactica like a year from now when it's no longer feeling like an Aegean Stables? Maybe. Or maybe my current opinion that I hate it will have fully calcified. I have no idea. What about the Backrooms movie? I'm mildly curious. I can't say I'm excited. And that's not to dampen anybody's enthusiasm. Like, I'm not into creepypastas. Like, the Back Doors as a concept I think is neat. I like liminal spaces. That's cool. But it's not something I'm into. And I've heard it's a good movie, but yeah, it's a movie. Like, I think a lot of people who ask me, like, well, what do you think about this, are expecting, like, for lack of a better way to put it, a big YouTuber reaction on me. Like, oh, let me tell you all about that. And, like, there are some things that'll set that off for me. But, like, a lot of the time, it ends up being stuff that I'm like, I'm pretty sure that I've expected to have an opinion on that, or a strong opinion, and I just kind of don't. Why do you watch me? I'm milquetoast as hell. half the time. Why are any of you here? Thank you for being here, though. I greatly appreciate it. The only film I'm looking forward to this year is the third Shaun the Sheep movie. Oh, Shaun. That's a good pick. I like that. I'm not going to lie, my Zennial ass is looking forward to He-Man. He-Man went immediately on the maybe I'll watch it on streaming someday list. For me personally. If you go and see it, I hope you like it. I hope you have a good time. There's a lot of cosmic horror elements in Elden Ring, so as the director of Annihilation, I think he's a good fit. All right, that could work. Yeah, Annihilation, I think Annihilation is... Again, I like Ex Machina, but I think Annihilation is the better movie by a very heavy margin. Like, it's not even really that close. How long until they make a live-action She-Ra movie? I think it 100% depends on how He-Man does. I will get Eve from Parasite Eve tattooed someday. Oh, nice. Empire of Death is just a typical RTD finale. Just one of the least effective ones. Yeah, that was basically my assessment. The Reality War is barely even a story. It's just 60 plus minutes of nonsense that happens just because. Yeah, again, I don't disagree. Like, assessing it as a work, it's a mess. But, like, I can't get too worked up about it because I know that the circumstances were not what anybody wanted them to be. Hot take, I'm not so keen on Docky Who Christmas episodes because it's Christmas. Stop running around, eat some goddamn turkey, watch the goddamn Sound of Music. I mean, like, I'm usually pretty lukewarm on the Christmas specials as a rule of thumb, just because I'm not super into the tone they adopt. They adopt a more lighthearted, you know, I like whimsy, but they kind of go for almost like it's trying to be a Doctor Who Christmas panto sort of thing, and like it's just not my energy. It's not what I come to Doctor Who for. It's fine. Other people love the Christmas specials. I'm generally lukewarm on them by and large, and I think my favorite one is Last Christmas, which is the one that is the least that, despite the fact that it has Santa Claus literally showing up. You made me sit through a vid tearing into The Shining, a movie I love so much. My friend literally got me Shining socks for my birthday. You're far from milquetoast. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. It is at least true that my opinions on The Shining are evidently fairly spicy. Although, I got more people at least capitulating to some of my points than I expected when I put that video out. Do you think the Abandoned City and Forbidden Planet felt like the ultimate liminal space? It's been too long since I've seen that movie. I think I need to watch it again. So I don't know. Not in a place to answer that. Supreme Omega! Thank you very much for the super chat. Again, coming back. I appreciate it. On Bond, is Campy Bond inherently bad? Because there seems a lot of dislike towards Campy Bond because Moonraker or Die Another Day, but Goldfinger worked. Like, campy is not just a matter of I like camp, I don't like camp. I can like camp, but it doesn't always work. I don't like Moonraker. I think Moonraker is a kind of camp that grates on me. I don't actually mind Die Another Day. I think it's fun. So like, I don't think camp is a really hard tone to strike. It just is, because you are ultimately trying to be stupid on purpose. And it's really hard. It's really hard to do that well. It just factually just is. Oh. Ooh, almost knocked over my raspberries. Whew. There we go. The Baba Duchess. Thank you for the super chat, if only so that I got to say your name out loud, which is always fun. While Garland's Civil War is a great movie, I do not recommend watching it under our current regime. It's too close. Protect your sanity. I actually, like, from people I have a tendency to agree with, we're not particularly fond of that movie. But I haven't seen it, and my opinions don't always line up with people who I tend to agree with. Most people who I usually agree with really love The Last Jedi. So, there you go. Not trying to get more out of you from my Patreon question, so you can skip if you want. Just trying to understand. You said you're not sure how much of Zubal's experience accurately maps IRL. I wonder, did you know all the characters in TADC use they them for Zubal and the creator confirmed Zubal as NB? I did know that the other characters use they them for Zubal. And I try and do the same. If I misspoke on that at any point, apologize. I didn't know that Gooseworks confirmed that. I don't follow behind the scenes stuff very much. But yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome. That just means that it's there with more intention than I was aware of, which no bad thing. Sam from Cybus Industries. Take the earphones out, man. Coming in as a YouTube member. Thank you very much. I appreciate you immensely. I think Zubal goes by all pronouns. I think I've only heard they, them. I don't know. How often is Jesse trolling you? I mean, we record a podcast once a week, so weekly? Weekly, I guess. Part of me getting older was admitting I like campy Roger Moore Bond. I mean, I'm trying to think. Roger Moore, his era. All right, here's my guilty pleasure. While it is kind of indefensibly racist, like legitimately, nobody should be defending the race elements of this one. I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Live and Let Die. But Moonraker overshot for me on the camp. And my favorite more was his least campy, because I like For Your Eyes Only. That's my favorite one of his. So if you had to rank least worst to worst of musicals, what would go first? Dear Evan Hansen, Amelia Perez, Joker 2, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Well, the problem is I never saw the movie version of Dear Evan Hansen. I've only heard a few of the songs from the stage version, and they seemed fine. And I don't know anything about Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark other than what I've heard. So that leaves me only with Amelia Perez and Joker Folie à Deux as anything that I have any qualification as giving a ranking on. And I would say Joker Folie à Deux is a worse musical. Amelia Perez is a worse movie. So yeah, take that for whatever it's worth. Believe Gooseworks is trans herself too. I didn't really know that. I don't look into a lot of, and also like, I won't lie, I'm scared to look much into behind the scenes on The Amazing Digital Circus, because that fandom is super normal and very reasonable fandom. Like, I like the Amazing Digital Circus. I'm going to be seeing the finale in the theaters. But, like, that, yeah. Like, I'm not huge into fan spaces really for anything. I've talked about that before. But there are some times that I'm like, I'm going to actively avoid interacting with the fandom, even though I like the thing. There are some instances of that, and Amazing Digital Circus is definitely one. Do you and Jesse have a show in mind once you're through Battlestar? I mean, we've vaguely talked about a few things. That decision is still a ways off, because once we finish the reboot, we're going to do the first season of the original show, and then we're going to do Caprica, and then we're going to do Battlestar Galactica 1980. So we're still like 2 years hooked into this thing. So it's a bit difficult to qualify Joker 2 with the rest of them, as it's mostly a jukebox musical. I have no problem holding a jukebox musical to the same standards as any other musical. I do not have a problem doing that. Why do so many fandoms get so cuckoo bananas? Against my better judgment, I might try and tackle this at some point, because here's what is intellectually interesting for me as someone who occasionally, and very occasionally, talks about fandom behavior. What's interesting to me about the Amazing Digital Circus is that generally when I've talked about toxic fandom elements, it's been about stuff that I know. So it's all been old stuff that is still going. So when I talk about, toxic fan things with superheroes, Star Wars, Star Trek, even Doctor Who, which I didn't get into until more recently, but I know it even from when I got into it around 2007, 8, around there. My position on all of those has been these toxic elements have always been present. They just got worse in the age of social media because they went from being isolated socially to like forums that nobody other than other fans or possibly only other toxic fans went to now just spewing this stuff everywhere on places where everybody can see it, like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Blue Sky and whatnot. The thing is, though, the Amazing Digital Circus kind of breaks that a little bit. Well, not breaks it, but it's a curveball for me because the Amazing Digital Circus as a fandom is only 3 years old. I've never seen something this new be this toxic basically immediately. And that is intellectually fascinating to me. Because it's not a matter of like, well, there's just some jackasses and they've always been there, but they just seem louder now. It's like, no, this thing is too young to have like originalists. The way something like Star Trek and Star Wars and Doctor Who do, because so much of the toxic fandom discourse around those things is it used to be good, and they're talking like 10, 15, 30 years ago. But for the Amazing Digital Circus, it's like there's only going to be a total of 9 episodes, and the pilot was 3 years ago. What are y'all so mad about? It's very strange. Amazing Digital Circus fandom is toxic. Oh yeah, Black Cover. The Amazing Digital Circus fandom is so bad that Gooseworks, the creator of that show, has basically said she wished she hadn't. Not because she regrets the work she put out, but she has hated the experience of dealing with her own fans. All right, I'll tackle this last question, then I got to wrap it up. Quick one. Have you seen Queer as Folk? If not, defo get into it. If you have, would you ever rewatch and make a video on it? Some really interesting stuff to digest. I have never seen Queer as Folk. I've never seen the original, nor have I seen the American version. And I'm not super inclined to, like, look, gay male culture it's not my culture. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with it. There isn't. But, like, I'm not necessarily going to be able to connect with it just because it's queer. Sometimes that works, but, like, things that really delve into more specific aspects of an aspect of queer culture that I'm not in, I don't know, they tend to leave me a little bit cold. Anyways, that'll wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And thank you, everybody, for, as far as I could tell, watching the chat. Everybody listened to me with the pinned comment for the stuff I said I wasn't going to talk about. I didn't think that would work. You know what? It's a really wonderful reminder of what a beautiful group of people you are and how much I appreciate you. So thank you very much for joining me. Was it ever your culture? Not really. Like, the closest I ever came to gay culture was I worked in a gay bar for a little over a year, but it's still like, I still felt like an observer more than anything else. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me. Everybody take care of yourselves. Hydrate. Be well. Be safe. Be kind. And remember that you are beautiful. You are valid. And you are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!